Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show with host Stephanie Vivier.
Well, hello, Rob. So excited to be here back again for another great show with you. So it's been kind of a weird week, right? We had the holiday sort of like in the middle of the week. So I'm really curious to find out from you how that affects real estate.
You know, I'll tell you, years ago when I first started, and when a holiday came up, it was actually a good break even for us realtors. Hardly any calls, if no calls at all. And, which was nice. You still look at your phone and, to check to see if there's any messages. But, I mean, now I'll tell you, like, even Christmas Day and Thanksgiving, Easter, I mean, it's like there is no holiday for realtors. I mean, we get phone calls all the time, but years ago, I mean, those were, crickets, eh? Like nobody, the phone, nothing, no calls, nothing, hardly any emails, everything. But now it's just like another normal day. Another normal day. And so I did find that it didn't even feel like it was like Canada Day on Tuesday. But even though I had the day off, I actually went to one appointment on Canada Day. It was later on in the evening, before the fireworks and after a little party. And I was in between, but it was just more of like to meet with the client, just to take a peek at the house and everything. And yeah, it's just the timing for them was only that time, and same thing with me. So it was, but yeah, no holidays for us. But it was weird having a holiday on a Tuesday versus like either a Monday or whatever. But usually Canada Day doesn't end up on a Tuesday. Like that was kind of strange. You know what I mean? Usually, like, has it ever ended up on Wednesday or Thursday or anything like that before? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it will, because it is the first, right? As opposed to like Christmas. Well, Christmas is the 25th, right? So those holidays that are a standard date, they circulate around. But I was thinking, shouldn't we just make this the first, like the Victoria Day, right? It's always the third Monday or whatever it is. So it's like, why don't we just make it the first Monday? Because it really was weird. You didn't know on that Monday who was working, who wasn't working. Do you take the Monday? It kind of seemed to me like a lot of people did, that sort of took the Friday, even took the Monday, coming back to work on the Wednesday. And maybe that's why your phone was busier, right? Because everybody was taking their time off of work.
Oh yeah, I noticed the traffic on the highway. So the traffic on the highway, I saw Friday was busy. It was busy. People were going to destinations. They were doing their weekend thing. And then traffic on the Monday, it was clean. It was just, you could have gone in and out of Toronto, no problem. If you were planning on doing anything in Toronto on a Monday, you would have got in and out of Toronto, no problem, without any heavy traffic situation. But yesterday on Canada Day, there was accidents everywhere. There's traffic slowing down, and especially with construction now, they're trying to fix the roads. I get it, and along the Queenie and wherever else on the 403 or wherever else. But there was heavy traffic on Canada Day for sure. I saw it, and I was like, trying to bypass it through using the app Waze just to bypass traffic. I use that every day, even going to work every day. I use that just in case there's a shutdown someplace on the highway. So I try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, increasingly we need it for sure. All right, so let's get into some of the things that are going on in terms of the market. And you brought us this week a real interesting breakdown, kind of looking at different cities, which is interesting. I did travel a little bit last weekend, and one of those things when you're kind of walking around a new town, you go to the real estate office when they have the listings in the window just to see kind of, what can I get? What would my house sell for here? That sort of thing. So what's happening? I guess we'll start in the big smoke. Let's start in Toronto. What's the market like there?
Yeah, so in Toronto, it's a buyer's market right now, and there's a lot of supply. The demand is not as strong, and usually, Toronto is one of the best markets in Canada, and a lot of that has to do with the condo market. The condo market has taken a beating, not just in Toronto, but other areas of Ontario. But timing, for anybody looking at buying now is definitely a good time if you're buying in Toronto. Vancouver, very similar market. It is a buyer's market, so there is way more supply than there is the demand. Calgary is becoming more of a balanced market. So because it's affordable, people are actually moving out there. Like I can't believe what's happening with Canadians. They're crisscrossing across Canada, moving in all sorts of places, and people are looking at lifestyle versus jobs a lot more right now, and we're finding a lot of people are moving to Calgary, and that's so that's kind of become more of a balanced market. So they're and then Montreal, it is a seller's market. Believe it or not, there is not enough inventory there to supply for the demand. So Montreal is kind of booming right now. See, and it's funny how different areas of the country are doing better than others or worse than others or whatever. And it's like its own economy in different areas. And Montreal, it's still Hamilton. It's a buyer's market right now to a certain degree. Because we're more in affordable area than Toronto. And same thing with Niagara. Niagara, like inventory levels are high. The demand is not there. People are still cautious. They're not sure about what the market's going to be like. Even though we've got the best interest rates in probably 40 years, maybe more. And like it's not a bad interest rate. Like I know we had great interest rates that it will probably never happen again during COVID, and people are still stuck on that. But what the government made a mistake is they lowered interest rates so low that it drove the prices of homes up. And then now it did go up, but then it settled back down, but not back down to prior to COVID. And so now we are working at a level of this value of homes that is a lot higher than it was prior to COVID, but a lot lower than after the COVID is over and the price adjustments have happened. I mean, so the one question a lot of people ask is, if you're looking at selling your home, what advice do we have for a seller? Now, the key thing is obviously price. That is the key thing. And presentation. Oh, we're talking like staging photos, videos, cleaning up, paint, like just give it a good, I'll tell you, houses do sell. There's a house for every person out there. And your house will attract somebody because either the neighborhood, somebody wants your house. But if you leave it like crap, you're going to get crappy price, and you're not. And you're not going to get that many showings on it. So take care of it. Like sometimes, you know what? The cheapest thing and the one thing that everybody can do is painting, and painting cleans up everything. So if you got a house and you really want to give a good presentation, paint it, clean up the lawn, trim it up, clean it up, dig the flower beds and everything. Make it look good when people walk by. Say, hey, wow. Especially when the front door, if it's faded, paint it, brighten it up. Show that hey, this is a vibrant house. All the trim, the shutters, get those painted. And then the next question is, if you're looking to buying a home, what advice have you for a buyer? Now, you're in your element right now if you're a buyer. The first thing is you definitely got to get pre-approved. Get all that in order. Get your income tax up to date. Get everything. Get a letter of opinion a letter of employment from your employer. To make sure everything's all good. And then and the one thing you have is time. Right now, like as a buyer, you've got lots of time. So you can take your time, wait for the right house to come up, and hopefully it comes up at the right price, and then you can make your deal on it. And so there's again, both ways. If you're a seller, you're going to do well if you price it right and clean up the house. And as a buyer, same thing, you'll do well because you got time. You can do your home inspections. You can do everything that you need to do. Your research, you can find out about the neighborhood, the parks, everything else. You got time. You can make sure it is the right move for you. But now if you are buying, try to buy that you're going to stay there for a minimum of 5 years. Don't buy with, thinking that you're going to move in 6 months to a year, because it's going to hurt you more financially. Price of houses don't go up that quick, especially the way the market is now, but it will come back. Believe me, I've seen many markets over the years. It will come back.
All right, great information there, Rob. Couple of questions. Let's go back to the seller. So you're talking about that cleaning up, the painting, that kind of stuff. It's so funny when we have different definitions of things, right? Like I might think clean is a different thing than you might think clean. You kind of learn that when you start to live with somebody, especially if you have roommates when you're young, right? Yeah. So is this the kind of thing, like, do we pull our realtor in on this and say, like, what paint colors should I do, right? Because that's really subjective as well. I might think, oh, this is a very clean paint color, but then it really turns off buyers, because I've seen that. You go into a house and you're like, wow, I can tell they just painted it, but it's ugly.
Yeah, you know what? If you go neutral colors, get rid of the dark colors. Go all neutral. Whether, and I always say, like you almost can go like a very light gray, but eggshell white, or even like very light cream. Not enough to make it look so creamy color, but go very light gray, all neutral. If you go all neutral, somebody will move in and buy it. They don't have to paint right away. They can work with, they can take their time on it. It's easier to sell, especially, painting it with a nice color. A lot of times, I just walked into a house. It was in Niagara Falls on when was it? It was Monday. And so I went in and they said to me, what do you think we need to do? I said, well, our stagers will come in. I mean, the house looked beautiful. I says, but what I would do is I would get a carpet cleaner. I see some spots on the carpet, get that done. So and then get those cleaned up so that people don't notice them as at all or as much. Now, the one thing is, it's like looking at somebody, right? You ever seen the movie Austin Powers, where he's looking at the person and they have a mole on their face? He can't stop looking at the mole. It's no different than a house. You go into a room and it can have a crack on the wall, could have a hole in the wall. The room could be so perfect, but the one little minor fracture, minor problem, people look at that. So look at that and clean it up. Same thing with trim. If you're a lousy painter, don't paint. Find a friend that's good. I've seen so many bad paint jobs out there, and it's like either they don't care or they're really bad. Like they just don't really notice that they're bad. Please do not paint unless you are good with your lines. Tape all around the corners, whatever you need to do. Make sure your lines are clean, straight, and don't do a bad paint job, because it'll make it worse than it does the way it was before. So be very, very careful on that.
Oh, that's some great tips right there. That's like one of those things, Rob, when you go to a party and you're kind of like, oh, I don't really know anybody here. Maybe start asking if people know how to paint, because you want to get those friends in your back pocket, because there are people who like really enjoy it, right? That you want to be able to call in when you need them.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? So we had this one guy one time. He needed to paint one of our clients' homes, right? And they hired like a friend, and you're not going to believe this. They painted over top of the cover plates of the light switches. They paint, yeah. Like, I mean, it was like, do you not notice that that's not what has been done before? Like this person was close to 40 years old that was painting. I go, either you did not want to do this job to never be asked again, or you just don't understand. And so I went to the seller. I said, well, what'd you do here? I said, this is worse than it was before. And they go, yeah, I know. I go, you should have stopped this guy after the first room. I guess you didn't pay attention. Anyway, it had to get redone. We had to get, you know what I mean? Like, listen, if you're going to have somebody help you, like painting is not that hard. You'll learn about coloring in between the lines in kindergarten. So, I mean, come on, like it can't be that hard. Just paint in between the lines and you will be good, and the house will look great. you know.
Oh man, yeah, it's fun though. We've all had our fair share of painting disasters. You're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show, and Rob Golfi is with us today from the #1 REMAX team in Canada, the Golfi team. Rob is sticking around, and when he comes back, he's going to describe to us escape clauses, where they are popping up in the real estate world, and what exactly are they? That's all on the way here in 610 CKTB Niagara's News and Talk.
Are you worried about selling your home on time and for the most money? Hi, I'm Rob Golfi. Every year we invest millions of dollars in our advanced marketing system, ensuring your home is seen by tens of thousands of potential buyers. We don't just hope it sells, we make it sell.
Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Steph Vivier, and Rob Golfi with REMAX. The Golfi team is with us today. All right, Rob, you were just outlining really markets across Canada for us. And there are some where the sellers kind of have the advantage, but for the most part, it looks like a buyer's market in many cities, including right here in the Niagara region. Given that, I wanted to talk about escape clauses. And apparently this is something popping up in the Toronto area.
So we've always had this in Southern Ontario, like, you know, for instance, like Hamilton, Niagara, Windsor, Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph, all, like even Barrie, Ontario. So it says the Toronto real estate market, the escape clause are making a quite comeback. Once rare in the ultra-competitive pandemic years, these clauses are now popping up more frequently in slower areas like Durham region in the Toronto area. An escape clause allows a buyer to make a conditional offer, often based on selling their own home, while still letting the seller show the property. If the seller gets a better offer, the buyer typically has 24 to 72 hours to firm up or walk away. So we're used to it around here in Niagara. So, and what it is basically, if you want to buy another house, you put a condition in there that you need to sell your house before you can firm up and firm up on the deal, that the house that you're buying. Now in Toronto, for the longest time, nobody would even take an offer if there was an escape clause. But now people are being very cautious to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to go in firm, because if I can't sell my house and then I end up owning two houses, I can be in a legal battle if I don't close. So they're putting escape clauses in there, basically, you know, saying that we need to sell our house. Now, what that means is you put an offer on a house conditional on selling your house. And there's an escape clause saying that in the event there is another offer, the original buyer, the first buyer, has the right to either firm up within 24 hours or between 24 and 72 hours, or he lets it go to the second buyer. Now, the price can be different. It doesn't mean it's going to be a higher price. The second offer usually is probably a cash offer, and that's why they're bumping the first offer. Now, the first offer, they can firm up, and sometimes people like hope the first offer doesn't firm up because the second offer is a better offer, but the seller has no choice but to go by what they had laid out when they originally took the first offer. So we've been doing it in the Hamilton, Niagara area for forever. Toronto now, they're seeing it more because people don't want to take the risk of possibly going in with a firm deal without knowing that their house is sold.
Okay, so interesting stuff, Rob. Why are we starting to see these kind of clauses return to the market now?
You know what? It is a slower market, and nobody wants to take the risk anymore. And a lot of people have been caught with two houses, and they are like, like, think about it. You're selling probably an $800,000 house. You're moving up to a $1.2 million house. Now you've got $2 million worth of real estate, and who knows how much of a mortgage you're going to have, and nobody wants to be caught that way. And you know, and people understand that. Like coming into Niagara and Hamilton, not a problem with the escape clause, but Toronto, I mean, they're getting a little bit of a different taste of, you know, of a slower market, and a different taste of the buyer now. They're being more cautious. They don't want to take the risk unless you've got the money that you can do it, but a lot of people don't have that money.
Well, yeah, especially, I mean, if people did buy in that, you know, 2021, 2022 timeframe, you know, the houses that they're holding, there's a certain amount of money they need to get for it. So It's very complicated. So tell us more about the strategy. Is this a good strategy for buyers right now?
It's a good strategy for them to do that if they have a house to sell. But the thing is, sometimes the seller may not want to take it. Maybe the house that the buyers that have to sell, they may overprice it. So it kind of ties you up on your house. Now, if they can't sell their house, well, the showings kind of slow down on your house if you do take an offer, a conditional sale. So you got to be very, very careful when you do accept an offer. You almost have to put a clause in there indicating that what price are you pricing the house, so that we know that the house is in fair market value in the marketplace. Like, you don't want somebody putting an offer on your house. Let's say your house is worth $800,000 and their house is worth $600,000, but they put it up for $800,000. It's not going to sell. The backup house is not going to sell. And so it's just a waste of time. So you don't want to take that offer. So you almost have to do an evaluation on the behalf of the buyer's clients and say, hey, listen, based on you telling me that you're going to list this house at this price, I think you're too high on that number. You need to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate, because I don't think you're going to end up selling your house. And I may lose a buyer that wants to buy my house that does want to sell their house at the right price. So you got to be very careful. So there's two angles to look at this. So you don't want, it is tough. There's a lot of work involved in putting a deal like that together. And you got to make sure that agent on the buyer agent doesn't lie to you and say, hey, we're going to list it for this much. And then you find out it's listed later. And the other thing is, sometimes they take their time in putting their house up on the market. So you also got to put a condition in there that their house has got to be on the market within 3 to 7 days on the market. We've had where we found agents that put the offer on the seller's house and say, and it's not hit the market for 3-4 weeks. Well, that kind of messes up the people trying to sell their house based on, well, your house is not on the market and we're stuck here under a contract with you, and nothing's happened. So you got to make sure you stipulate all those things in the offer, saying the buyer's house has got to be on the market within less than 7 days, all that kind of stuff, and it should be priced in this range to make it competitive in the marketplace.
Oh, wow. So you can really get specific about the types of things that are in these clauses.
Yeah, you have to. If you don't, then you just basically took an offer from somebody that the buyer's house will never sell, and you just wasted time and you hurt the exposure on your house, because people know there's a conditional offer on your house. You still can show it, but they're not going to be as apt to look at the house because they have a house to sell, and they're just not going to, they don't want to interfere with it. They don't want to bother with it because you've already got one offer with a conditional sale.
All right. This is interesting stuff. I think, Rob, this is where, that the experienced realtor, someone who's done this, really shines right now, because, someone who maybe got into this in 2021 and 2022, they wouldn't really understand these clauses in and out like you do. So are there other conditions that are coming back now that we have a different market?
Well, in the GTA, like we've always had in Niagara, Hamilton, Niagara, we had financing, home inspection, sometimes insurance clauses. That's very important. You should always look at that. But in the GTA, you're starting to see more conditions in there, like financing, home inspection. I mean, before they may not even go in with any of those conditions, just because the market was so fast, it's strong. People would, fill out, some information indicating, if there's any issues with the house, but a lot of conditions are going into properties. So yeah, you got to be very careful, and before you firm up, to make sure that you have everything in order. Your financing, get the home inspection done. You should, because it could save you thousands of dollars. You probably could renegotiate on if there's some major issues with the house that even the homeowner didn't know. There's a lot of things the homeowner doesn't know about their house, and when a home inspector goes through, they go, "Wow, I didn't know we had those problems." Especially when you start going in the attic. A lot of people don't go in the attic. I've seen homeowners buy a house, live there for 10 years, and sell it and not even seen the attic. So, and they don't know
I don't
what's
think I've
up
ever
there.
been in my attic.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Better check it out. You might find some friendly little creatures in there.
Yeah, maybe I'll send my husband up first and then I'll go
Yeah, yeah,
afterwards.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So, do we think this is going to last? Are we back to having escape clauses in the real estate market? Is this going to be temporary? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it'll stick around a little bit, but then once the market gets better and the consumers get a little more comfortable, they know the market's good, they know they can sell their house. Absolutely. The one thing I'll tell you is, and I'll tell you a story. This happened years ago. This guy had his house listed, and let me back up a bit. Sorry. So this couple, they bought a house through this realtor, and they paid, I think, $275,000. This is way back. This was in Grimsby, $275,000. Their agent told them they can get $350 to $360 for their house. Okay, selling their house. So they went in cash, no conditions, on this $275,000 house. So they figured, okay, well, if we're going to get that much for our house, we'll finish. We got lots of money coming in. We can finish the basement. So anyway, they list their house. They listed, I think, $350,000. I can't remember, 360, and they're getting no action. And now they're starting to get a little bit kind of worried because anyway, they call me, and I said to them, I go, I can't really discuss anything to you, but I said, you're going to be very disappointed in the outcome of your sale of your house. They got that's kind of not a great news you want to hear from another realtor. And so anyway, they, I guess a month later, within a month, they fired their realtor, and then they called me, and I said to them, I went there and I said, hey, your house is worth $300,000. They go, what? They go, I would not have bought that other house for $275, knowing that I'm selling my house for $300 after expenses and everything. They did a lateral move. It wasn't worth it. It was not worth it. And they go, what about $320? I said, you can try it, but the market's not going to take that $320. And so anyway, they tried to sell private at $320. Nothing happened. Nothing. So a month later, they call me. So they're getting close to the time where they have to, So they called me. I go, 300 is the number. They go, will you list it at 320 to see how it'll do? I go, sure, I have no problem. As long as you know what, my number and everything else like that. We listed at 320. Within probably 2 to 3 weeks, we got an offer for $300,000 cash, no conditions. And I said, guys, here you go. I go, remember I told you. And so they didn't know what to do. And I asked the other agent that brought the offer, and I said, just give them a little bit of time to think about it, because I don't want to push them into it. And they took the offer, and they've been my client for the last 20 years. And yeah, I'm telling you. So you got to be you better, like these agents. Sometimes I feel bad. It's wrong what that agent did. He should have known the market. He should have known, but he didn't. So he made them buy firm first, and these people got stuck buying a house that they shouldn't have bought, and they probably would have stayed where they were. So be very careful, very careful. And people want to believe what they want to believe, right? Like you call 3 agents in, or let's say you call 2 agents in. I go in and I say, hey, your house is worth 300. The other agent goes in and says it's 350. Who do you think they're going to believe more? They want to believe the 350. They're not going to believe me. But guess what? That got them in trouble. That got them in trouble by believing that agent. So experience is very important when you're hiring an agent. Don't ever block out experience over somebody giving you a higher number. I'll tell you, the guy that's giving you the high number and an experienced agent's giving you a real number, I'm going to tell you, I'll take experience over anything, because, we've got agents out there, not putting down any agents. They need to learn. That's how they learn. They should have a mentor that's going to help them. But go with the experienced agent when you're getting a price on your house.
Well, that is a great segue, Rob, because we are going to talk about realtors coming up in just a moment. You're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show with Rob Golfi with the REMAX, the Golfi team, and you can get a hold of them at 905-641-0308. Rob is sticking around, and he's going to give us his thoughts on part-time realtors. That's on the way here on 610 CKTV Niagara's News and Talk.
I know the importance of hiring the best agents.
I'll take a photo of your house and post it on the World Wide Web.
Next,
Our multi-million-dollar marketing system reaches tens of thousands of potential home buyers every day.
go to robgolfi.com and put the best team to work for you.
Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today. And Rob, you were just taking us through some trends in the real estate market. One particularly is that we're seeing escape clauses pop up now, people putting conditions on offers, things that we weren't seeing in the last few years. And, as you're kind of digging deep into this, it's occurring to me, how much the Golfi experience, the time that you've put in, pounding the pavement, doing this work, really lends to you understanding how these clauses work and how to best work for your clients. So I want to talk about the idea of part-time realtors. How would you describe that? Like, it is something where people are entrepreneurial, right? They're being, their income is based on their outcome. They're not, getting a salary or anything like that. So how would you describe a part-time realtor?
So in today's an ever evolving real estate industry, one hot a button issue is whether Canada should allow part-time realtors to remain licensed and active. With the market becoming more competitive and complex, some professionals argue that real estate should be a full-time commitment, which I believe myself, while others say there is room for passionate part-time agents who bring value and flexibility to the client. So what it is there's 70,000. Well, actually, there's 100,000 realtors in Ontario, which is a lot. And there's just the Toronto Real Estate Board, just to give you a large number, it's the biggest real estate board in North America. There's about 73,000 realtors registered with the Toronto Real Estate Board. Now,
wow.
Yeah, it is a lot. 60% of them, I'm giving you a really low bottom conservative number. I'd say over 60%, about 60% of them are part-timers. So if you get one of those 60%ers, it probably even closer to 70 to be the real number. But if you get one of those 60%ers coming to your house and he gives you a price, okay, maybe he did the right thing giving you the price. Does he have the time to follow up with people that are calling about your house? Because if he's got a part-time job someplace, he's got a full-time job someplace else, he's doing this part-time. Does he have the experience? Like, I'll tell you, there's always situations that are happening when it comes to negotiations. What's on the contract? How do you deal with it? And with an experienced realtor, he's pretty well experienced, anything that's come to in regards to any situation in negotiations. But not only that, anything new that comes up, he knows how to deal with it. Now, a part-time realtor that doesn't do that many deals doesn't have that. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of slack because there's more part-time realtors out there than there are full-time realtors. So the ones that come send me an email indicating that, that's wrong, then I know he's a part-time realtor. Okay, just letting you know that. But the thing is, you have to be very careful. In Vancouver, I think they have to be a full-time realtor. They can't have two forms for CRA. They have to have one, and they can't be a realtor and another job, which is a good thing, And the reason why we allow part-time realtors because these real estate boards make money on the people that are part-time. Because if we lost them, that could be 60% of the membership fees, dues. So that's, why, they're letting it go. But the government should put down something saying, hey, we should not have part-timers out there. This is a profession that we're dealing with people's most expensive asset that they have. And if they mess up, now there's no repercussions of it. Like if you hire the wrong guy and he sells your house and he makes a mistake and it costs you money, you got to be careful. I had one guy one time, he had a small, it was a house, but in a commercial area. And I usually sold a lot of his properties, right? And he says that he had somebody that wanted to buy his property. I said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want. He sold it, but because it was commercial, there was HST on it. He did not know there was HST, and he missed it. So he lost the HST. So literally, there was over $30,000 in HST. So he thought he sold his house for $550,000, but it was actually $490,000.
Right.
And
Wow.
so, because on the contract, it said HST included.
Okay.
It should have said HST additional. HST is additional to the purchase price. So he really messed himself up by selling it privately and not or even calling me and say, "Hey, listen, I would have picked that up right away." So he thought he was saving money by not dealing with a realtor, but he ended up costing him even more money than dealing with a realtor. So and those are the little things that that a lot of young realtors don't know. And not saying young, but realtors that don't do that much business. Another thing is a lot of realtors from the GTA, they have not dealt with septic systems, cisterns, country properties. When they come out, they think every house has sewers, and they don't. And meanwhile, their clients, after they move in, they find out they got a problem with their septic system. It's backing up, or they got no water one day. They're going in there, the tap water, and they don't understand. So they call in the city, and the city says, "Hey, listen, you got a cistern there. You better call the water truck to fill it up." And they don't know that, and that's the difference. And so I feel that every realtor should be a full-time realtor, and or if they're going to start part-time. Start part-time maybe for the first 6 months, but they have to go into a full-time position because, hey, you're dealing with consumers, and that's a big investment that they have that you're handling.
Well, it's tough when you're starting something new. You should probably really dive in if you want to be successful at this. I understand the want of people to have something else on the side, because that's a scary thing. But what would you say to someone who's getting their license and has that plan to just do it on the side, to never really leave what it is they're doing now?
They'll never reach a successful level in real estate. They never will. We found when we hire people on our team, we give them a grace period that they have to leave their job by a certain date when they come on our team, because we don't hire part-time people. We don't. But you won't do well if you are working another job, because you have that what do you call it? Crutch. You have that
safety net.
You have that safety net. Now, if you don't have a safety net, you got no choice but to work and succeed. And it's like anything. You put somebody back in the corner, all of a sudden, their mind works more. Everything works better because they have to do and have to work. So my thing is, if you're coming with us, you got to be full time. You got to be full time. Part-time is not good for any type of occupation whatsoever.
Okay. Well, awesome, Rob. I'm sure we could talk about that a lot more, but I do want to ask you about something else. And this is something that's really popping up, I think maybe in my age group or a little bit older, as parents are aging and they're still in their homes. And one thing I've heard about is, adult children being added to the parents' real estate title. And there's some sort of advantages there, or is there? So that's my question for you. Is that something we should consider doing?
You know what? Yes and no. So,
okay.
There's as the more aging parents think about real estate planning and home values keep climbing, many are asking, should I add my adult child to the title of my home? The main motivation is to avoid probate tax. And I remember when my parents, they put their names on my grandparents' home. So which can be costly and time consuming, especially in Ontario and British Columbia, putting a child on title as a joint tenant with the right of survivorship. The home can pass to them automatically upon death by passing probate altogether. I do believe it, but you better know your child really well. And I think if your child's in a good financial situation, absolutely. But if they're not, you're taking a risk.
Okay. That's, some obvious things right there. So when you say a risk, what do you mean by that?
Well, we've seen cases like this where the parents have put their house under the kids' names, and then all of a sudden the kids, they can do things, they mortgage the house, and the parents don't know.
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden now there's payments on this house, and now the kids that have the house under their name, they can't afford to make the payments. And all of a sudden, the parents are being kicked out of their house. So I'm telling you. So like I said, you better better know your child pretty good. Better know he doesn't have any alcohol, drug problems or anything like that. He's not wanted by any police. Like, you want to make sure, and especially, if you have, more than one child, and so there could be some issues there, but definitely know your child, and people. And I stress on this. I know it's your child and you love them very much, and they could do no wrong. But I'll tell you, you better know their financial situation, because when people are backed in the corner financially, and now they have an opportunity to do something, and without you knowing, and you can end up on the streets, and then nothing you can do about it. And it's happened so many times. Like, you have no idea the stories out there. We see it. People have to sell because they didn't know they had a mortgage on their house because their child put it on there, and they're forced to move out.
Okay, so what about tax implications? Presumably, if I'm on title with my parents, but I still have my own home, it wouldn't be my principal residence. So are there some issues with taxes?
I don't think there's any issues with taxes, because they know it's a house that was from the parents. The one thing is, you do have to be careful, is if you do have a house in your name, and you're married, right? And all of a sudden you're splitting up with your spouse. Now he may say, "Hey, I want part of that action of that house of your parents." So so there's so many issues that the best place is to do is open up a trust, and that everything's taken care of. You don't have to worry about anybody taking anything. It stays into a family trust. And the parents are still a little bit in control of it without having the kids doing anything with your house, and you get to stay in your house, especially if your house is paid for and you got money and you don't need to move. That's great. It's a lot of people, I get it. It gets tougher as you get older. The pensions aren't the greatest in the world, so you have to really watch how you live anymore. So that's why people are doing these chip mortgages, where they give you money and you don't have any payments for so many years. But you got to be very, very careful. Definitely talk to either an accountant or somebody or a lawyer, what you want to do in regards adding one of your child to your house, or opening up a family trust is probably the best way.
And how common is this? Do you see a lot of clients go through it, and afterward, are they happy about it or not happy?
It depends. Most of them are happy, but there's always the ones that end up having they end up regretting it, because they didn't know their child what problems they had in their life. And you're in your 70s or 80s, and you have a child that's in their 40s or 50s, and all of a sudden you didn't know that they had whatever issue, financial or drug issue or whatever issue they have going on in their life, because you don't see it. You don't see them often. You see them once a week, once a month, once a year. It doesn't matter. And all of a sudden they're using your house as a way to gain more financial things for themselves. And it's you just better know your child before you actually put a house under their name. Make sure they're financially secure and pretty well. Like, you always, if you have three siblings, one's always, doing very well. They have a professional career or whatever, or they've got a great job, and they've got money. They've got a nice house. They got a great, family going on, and they got their vacations. That's the one you want. You pretty well want to, look up their financial situation too, so that they're not going to end up getting you in trouble, because you want to stay in your home, right? Till you, as long as you can. You don't want to end up moving into someplace that you're forced to move into because somebody took out a mortgage on your house without you knowing.
Well, there is a lot to consider there, but that's some great advice as always here on the Golfi Real Estate Show. Rob, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's Rob Golfi from the #1 REMAX team in Canada, the Golfi team. Give them a call, 905-641-0308. Check them out online too. It's robgolfi.com. That's Rob, Golfi.com. And you're listening to 610 CKTB, Niagara's News and Talk.